Well, if you'd have told me we would have held the team to 28% field goal shooting and won 3 of the 4 quarters, I would have felt pretty good about our chances to win the game. You know, I felt like the first 3.5 minutes looked a little like the last 3 games, and you know, but as soon as we subbed, we came with a different energy with the bench, and these 2 guys were leaders that way, coming in and giving us a lot of energy. Then that pulled everybody else up. So then when I went back to the starters or, you know, any mixture, we competed at the level that I expect the Dream to compete at every single day, every single game. You know, I think we had 4 possessions with the game tied with a chance to take the lead. We obviously never got over the hump, but we got some good shots. And we got the offensive rebound, and Sykes got the open 3. I just thought that was going to be the dagger. You know, and even when we were down 3 and Hayes got the wide open 3 with a chance to tie it up, you know, I thought, you know, we were putting ourselves in position to win a game. And I think in this league, that's what you have to do. You have to put yourself in position to win games. And so while we don't like the result, we never want to lose games. We battled and we looked like a dream team, quite frankly, the way we want to look. Maybe we set the game back a couple years. Kurt and I said after the game, with one team shooting 28% and 132, it wasn't pretty, but we don't care how it looks as long as at the end of the day we're competing with a chance to win the basketball game.
So at practice Friday, the focus, Darius told me the focus was defense, and you can see like glimpses, especially in the second quarter, of like you being a defensive team, and that's giving you fuel and energy offensively. How did you make this quick turnaround from Thursday to playing like that?
Well, we have a great drill that we used for the first time, and you know, I've watched USA Basketball use it before, and it's a drill that you want to do, but you fear doing because it can get so competitive that you don't want anyone hurt. And so in a league where load management and keeping them off their feet and all of those things are buzzwords, and we have to be careful, it's basically a 3-minute drill where you stay on defense for 3 straight minutes, and your goal is to get 8 points. And so you get points for a deflection, you get points for a stop, and you just run it back. And if you get 8 points at any point in that 3 minutes, we stop. Now, if you give up an offensive rebound at any point in that 3 minutes, you go back to 0 and you start over. So it emphasizes defensive rebounding, which we've struggled at the first few games. It emphasizes the offense getting into actions quicker, so it works both sides of the ball. But if nothing else, it forces them to compete. And it's almost like you separate from the women from the girls, because who wants to play defense for 3 straight minutes when you think about a 24-second shot clock? So it kind of started there, and we talked about, even though we only did 1 day of prep for Connecticut in terms of what they do and why they do it, it was going to come down to what does our energy look like, what does our discipline look like, do we know our scout and our personnel, and just do we compete? You know, sometimes it's not about X's and O's, even though I'm, quite frankly, a firm believing in out-Xing and out-O'ing people. Sometimes it's about like just sitting down and saying, I'm not going to let you score on me. I'm not going to let you grab an offensive rebound. John Paul Jones dominated the offensive glass in the first half. It was a different story in the second half.
Coach, what was the impact of the turnovers early and volume of free throws? Are they where you want them to be?
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest difference, obviously. When you think about, we were handing them the ball to start the game. They had 16 points off turnovers in the first half. They had 4 in the second half when we didn't throw them the ball and we were able to get into a stance. You know, it's hard to defend 2-on-1 layups. It's hard to defend, you know, transition baskets, and probably nobody's better in the league than Connecticut when they get out in transition of spacing you and finding Strickland on the perimeter, Courtney getting to the rim, you know, AT's a load coming down the lane. So when we just didn't hand the ball to them and got to sit down and defend, we were really good. And certainly as a defensive-minded coach, when your defense is in front of you for the second half, that makes it easier for me to continue to communicate actions to them and what's coming next, and just kind of constantly be in their ear.
Coach, was there more focal point to be aggressive and get to the round?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, you know, sometimes you have an athletic advantage at positions, and so that's what we know that we have at times. You know, what we have to continue to do better is once we, you know, for us, we need to touch the paint. So 28 of our 32 points in the first half were when we touched the paint. Doesn't mean they were all layups, but it means we touched the paint and kicked out. We're just a good basketball team when we do that. So we're always going to start and want to be the aggressor that way. What we have to do better is the same thing we had to do better at the beginning of last season. When we touch the paint, what decisions are we making when we get there? We took too many tough shots. You know, when we got in the lane, it's hard to score over John Paul Jones. You know, you have to score around her, you have to get by her, or you have to draw her to you and move it. And so we've got to do a better job of moving it when we touch the paint, but I like that we were aggressive. I like for sure.
Players, just what do you think about the way you played today and the intensity of all the players that came off the bench and the impact of the bench on the game?
I mean, it's only up from here. You know, we had that talk in the locker room after the Vegas loss, and you know, the best thing you can do is just, you know, learn from it and not make the same mistakes. Yeah, we started slow, but ultimately when the subs came in and we picked it up and the starters got back in and we picked up the energy and we didn't get down on ourselves. You know, we just went out there and we knew that it was a possibility that we could win that game, and we did everything that we could possibly do. Missed a couple shots, they made a couple, but ultimately, you know, we're looking forward to the next game and, you know, to just start out strong.
Brittney, you came off the bench last game, but you brought the energy. Has it been easy to adjust or difficult to adjust to come off the bench rather than starting?
It doesn't matter. I'm just here to do whatever my teams need me to do. And I know that, you know, whoever touches that floor has to bring energy. It's not just one person. And energy doesn't have to come in scoring. It can come in rebounding like Mo. You know, it could come in talking like Ben. It could come in any form. Just knowing that when you get on that floor, there's no missed assignments. And, you know, you're just bringing that competitiveness that we played with last season. So that's just my job, to get out there and do whatever my team needs me to do, because it's not always scoring.
Brittney, do you think when you and Alex boxing out the bench is a good way to turn things around, the 1-2 punch of you guys, and for Monique, what do you think you were able to do today? You altered a lot of shots and made a big impact down on the paint.
Is that a beginning again?
For you, do you think you and Alex
Mhm.
could be a 1-2 punch to kind of turn things around with what you gave?
Well, yeah, that's a lot to take on, you know, with Alex being such an aggressive guard and her handling the ball, and then having me on the wing and, you know, adding Mo in there, just having that offensive tenacity to go get the boards. You know, rebounding is an effort thing. You know, I'm going to beat you to the boards and go get it. Alex is going to, you know, beat you off the dribble, and, you know, I'm going to beat you to the rim. So it's hard. I mean, I would hate to play against me, Alex, and Mo coming off the bench. So, you know, as long as we keep perfecting that, then, you know, we apply a lot of pressure when the starters get their rest and we come onto the floor. There's no let off.
Yeah, just like Sykes said earlier, just knowing your role. I know when I come in, I am to bring energy, and that's when I'm at my best. I want to do the best I can for my team and do whatever the team needs. So whatever we're missing, I just try to bring.
For Nicki, Tiffany seemed to be a different player tonight than we've seen in the past couple games. What's been different for her?
I think she showed up in the 3-minute drill. I just think she probably is tired of losing. I think as much as that, I don't think people realize that she tweaked her ankle before our opener, and, you know, has been in a boot the last 2 weeks when she hasn't. We've rested her in practice. I think it's hard. I know there are players who can not practice and then still compete at a high level, but I don't think there's many that are really good at that, you know, that really have the same rhythm. Tiffany is a player that, you know, her strength is her ability to be her first step, her slitheriness around the rim. And when you've got one bum ankle and you don't push off that as well as you're used to, it's amazing how many of those tight shots around the rim, you know, were rolling out on her. You know, just like I said with Sykes, I think she's a player that, as the season went along last year, you saw her assist numbers go up, and we're going to have to get her back there again, you know, because she draws so much attention in the lane that there are times when the right place to move it. To really be aggressive, draw 2, draw 3, and move it. And so, you know, we spent a lot of time last year looking at the film and making sure not just that she sees where the openings are, that we're getting the 4 other people when she drives to move into those openings. It's very easy with players like Sykes and Hayes to start watching. You know, who doesn't like watching some of the explosive things they do with the basketball? We're only going to be at our best when there's 4 other people hunting shots while they're doing that. And so, you know, sometimes they don't feel that. They get in the lane and there's big people and they don't feel where the help's coming from. So we've got to show them on film. And the more you show it to them on film, the more they feel it, I think, when they play.
Brittney, on offense, there were some struggles early, but it continued to improve. What has been the biggest change you've seen on the offense so far this season, and where do you think you can still go? Yeah.
We scored 59 points just to...
Yeah.
I mean, like Coach said, you know, as the season goes on, we just have to, you know, hunt shots. You know, we look at film and we see that, you know, sometimes we get caught watching and, you know, we might not have that outlet pass. We talk to each other. We tell each other, you know, hey, if this person's helping, you know, move to this spot. You know, we're well aware of it. We just have to, you know, get back to it and just watch film and just understand that, you know, we have to move as a unit. Just like on offense, I mean, on defense, we have to move on offense as well. Because a lot of teams can't guard us. They can't stay in front of us. So once we have that down pat and we start kicking out, now the whole floor is open. Anybody can get a shot. JB can get her 17-footer. E can get hit on the rolls. Mo can hit her 15-footer, you know? So we just got to do that. We got to play dream basketball like we did last year, especially going into the playoffs.
Brittney, after Thursday's game, there was a special gift that you gave to a special little fan, and it's actually gone viral. What went into that? And can you just talk about going
Well,
into that?
There was a video that our GM, Chris Yanko, sent us, and it happened to be one of my good friends, Wayne Gathers. He recorded her, and she was just talking about how much she loved the dream, how much she loved Tiffany, and how much she loved supporting us, you know, whether we win or lose. And it was so pure, you know. And I know I had to switch out my sneakers because I started getting blisters. So I'm like, all right, it's time to change shoes. So, you know, I just thought, like, hey, why not just give her something, you know, from our team? And I was like, all right, well, I'll just give her my shoes. Nothing big to it. I did not know she was going to cry. Like, I felt so bad. But then it was, you know, tears of joy. But you could just hear it in her voice. And even after I left, I went back and watched what WNBA Kicks had posted, interviewing her. And, you know, she just kept saying, you know, that we're going to be okay. And just to keep fighting and keep playing. And to have someone like that at 9 years old, you know, it's lovely. So, you know, why not give back? That's a big thing for me, just to pay it forward. So I wish I could give every kid a pair of shoes or something. You know, I always get my headband out when I can, but she deserves something good. So I hope that my sneakers made her happy, and it did. It made her cry. So there's that.